Welcome to KOCT's Roundtable. My name is Alison St. John. I'm host for this important program to help you decide who should represent the 49th Congressional District. The primary election this June 7th will decide which of the 7 candidates running for this post will face off in November. As you know, this year is a midterm election, so the president is not on the ballot. But the balance of power in Congress could change depending on your vote. Oceanside is in the 49th Congressional District, which is one of the hot races in the country. In other words, a lot of money is being spent by both Democrats and Republicans to gain control of this seat. It stretches from Orange County through Camp Pendleton to Solana Beach. To give you a little background, this district was part of the so-called Blue Wave in 2018, when Democrat Mike Levin defeated a Republican and turned what had been a Republican district for years into a Democratic one. But after recent redistricting, the voter registrations are now fairly evenly balanced, so this is a highly competitive race. You could receive a ballot in the mail anytime after May 9th, and you can mail that in if you want, anytime after that until primary election day, June 7th. Who's running? 5 Republicans and 1 Democrat are challenging Mike Levin in his bid for a 3rd term. In alphabetical order, their names are Lisa Bartlett, Brian Marriott, Josiah O'Neill, Chris Rodriguez, Nadia Smalley, and Renee Taylor. I'm Alison St. John, and thanks again for watching KOCT, the voice of North County. Our next candidate for the 49th Congressional District is Nadia Smalley, who is a private nurse and a businesswoman. So welcome to KOCT, Nadia.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you are the only other Democrat in this race apart from the incumbent, Mike Levin. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are and what your experience is that would make you qualified for this role.
Well, I'm from North County, and I've been nursing in North County for about 5 years now. I do hospice, and I've been in politics for quite some time. I ran against Meg Whitman and Jerry Brown, took 6% of that vote. What qualifies me? Being in the community, hands-on. You know, I've done all of the dirty footwork by going and get all my nominations. I don't hire anyone. I spend my own money on the campaign. I feel that being a part of the community qualifies me because, you know, when I go into the schools, it's not just me sending someone in there. I'm actually sitting there with the children. I'm actually talking to them and, you know, interacting and finding out, you know, what they would like to see done. The little people really have a lot to offer. They have a lot to say about what they want to see done in our community.
So you haven't held public office, but you've done a lot of public service work.
I have done a lot of advocacy and public service work, yes.
So what is it about the current incumbent of the 49th District that you feel really something more needs to happen? Why are you running against him?
Well, you know, again, when I was out in the field gathering signatures, I spoke to everyone individually. I went out to people's homes and, you know, got to have a more personal approach with what they want to get done in the community. And a lot of people want to see change with our homeless situation and the transients and whatnot. And I just don't think that there's been a lot of attention paid to that particular situation. And it's a big community concern for us all, you know. And there's no blame there to these people. And I know that they just opened a center in Oceanside. And I think that that would be, you know, it's a step in the right direction for us all. But I think that that's something for me that I want to conquer or see eradicated in our community. We don't need homelessness. There's a lot going on in our community that we can house these people. You know, we have so many opportunities to house them. There's a lot.
So I was going to ask you, what are your top 3 issues? It sounds like this is one of them. And what do you think Congress can do about it?
Well, you know, not just Congress, but, you know, I feel locally. You know, we here in San Diego have a lot of, there's ocean liners that are empty, you know, and I know that we have where they go around and they fix the cleft lips for the babies on the boats. So it's been turned into a hotel. They refurbish them. And my thoughts are these empty vessels that are sitting can be refurbished for the homeless, pardon me, and it could be something where they can come take showers, get medical care. You know, if they have some psychiatric needs, have that, you know, addressed as well.
Fair enough, yes. So let's go for the top three issues that you feel would be yours if you got this seat.
My top three issues, of course, will be homeless, veteran affairs, and well, not only locally, but as you said, in Congress, our abortion issues.
Okay.
I really don't feel that, you know, 10 years is quite a bit of time for someone making a decision. You know, we have a lot of young people that need some alternative ways out, you know.
Well, that brings us to, of course, one of the hottest political issues on the table right now. If the Supreme Court does go ahead and reverse Roe versus Wade, what do you think should happen next?
Well, you know, that's a tough question. I really don't think, you know, we have so much that we could be doing with our times as a nation. I don't think going backwards should be a part of it. You know, this is something that we've already made a decision on. Why are we readdressing it? You know, there's so much more, like, you know, we were just speaking a minute ago, the homeless issue. We have nutrition issues in our classrooms in our schools. You know, I just don't see that the tariffs and the funding should be going towards, you know, these issues. I just don't.
So what was your reaction when you heard that it might be overturned?
Well, it's a personal issue for me because, you know, I have children. I'm a grandmother of 11, and I just don't see, for women's rights, what is our tomorrow going to be like, you know, for these young girls. Again, 10 years is quite a bit of time for someone making a personal decision, you know, to terminate a pregnancy, or, you know, there's a lot of personal topics and choices as to why I feel that they can. It's their body. And
so you're saying this is one of your top issues. What would you like to see? What would you actually lobby for?
I would actually like to see more funding for it, more federal funding for it. You know, private organizations like Planned Parenthood stay in place. You know, there has to be some sort of alternative for young ladies, for women. That's what I want to see happen. I mean, I don't have, you know, the exact antidote right now for, you know, what I would like to see put in place, but I know that where we could be headed as a nation or as a community together is not backwards. We don't need to be going backwards. This is Roe versus Wade today, and you know, that was in the 70s. And now here we are in 2022 addressing the same issue when it's already working for our nation.
So let's talk a bit more about health. Since you're a nurse, you probably have some strong opinions about this. Just supposing there was another pandemic, we're hoping that we're coming out of the COVID pandemic. What have we learned from COVID, and what should we do differently?
Well, I think sanitation issues have gotten way better. You know, as far as PPP, us washing our hands and whatnot, and the face mask and sanitizer and whatnot. To me, that's something that we weren't doing as a nation. So now it's something that everyone is aware of, and we're all doing it together. I don't think that there should be any restrictions on our travel or mandates for the children to keep wearing the masks in school, you know.
Right now, but if there were another pandemic, what do you feel about the policies that we have already pursued with COVID?
Well, the ones set in place, I'm hoping should you know, be maintained and be just fine. I don't see that they should implement anything else. I mean, what else can you do other than, you know, sanitize our air, which I was feeling, you know, just me personally, we have crop dusting planes. And so I feel that we should be able to, with the crop dusting, if we're dusting the plants with pesticides, then we can very well, you know, clean our air with something that's safe and not harmful for us to breathe.
What did you feel about the way the CDC dealt with the crisis, the pandemic?
I think, you know, I think measures could have been handled a lot better. You know, some people are still facing some issues worldwide. Some people are still in jail over it, you know. It's unbelievable, unfortunately. I think our CDC could put better measures. We don't have any public safety commercials. I think they should be able to address our public in a more repetitive manner, more reminding. Maybe they should put some things in the bathrooms as far as, you know, free for all the time. Just something that they implement for us to have 24 hours a day for everyone. When I'm saying this, I'm thinking of the homeless. Because a lot of our issues right now with the transients not being able to bathe and, you know, get certain things, to me, goes hand in hand with the pandemic with COVID. Because downtown San Diego had quite a bit. They, you know, when I went down there and did some walking around, a lot of the transients were sick with COVID, and they were just outside. It was nowhere for them to go. So I think if we clean up, you know, some of our streets and whatnot, that would help with COVID, and CDC could put in some measures, you know, to implement that, you know, for us all. Like, you know.
Are you satisfied with the state of healthcare in the nation at the moment? Because we are talking about a national role here. So Obamacare, where do you stand on healthcare?
I think healthcare should be free for all. I don't see why, you know, we pay enough taxes and tariffs as it is. So I don't see why it should be something. It should be also a choice. If you choose to have private healthcare, that's your choice. But if you choose to have, you know, the free health care, it should be made available to you.
And so the implication would be that taxes would probably go up, but you feel like that is a worthwhile thing for putting taxes up?
I don't think the taxes need to go up. I mean, we have trillions and billions of dollars on standby that we don't even use for a lot of measures that are just sitting there. So it makes no sense if that money can't be divided and redirected into an area where it could be used. Instead of just sitting there accumulating. What's the use in having, you know, all these trillions of dollars standing by and we're not utilizing it?
Well, speaking of billions of dollars, President Biden has recently suggested $33 billion more be sent to Ukraine. Do you think that the current policy towards Ukraine is appropriate? Where do you stand on that?
I think it's a crying shame, you know, how the war is unfolding over there. Me personally, I've had friends that, you know, their families are not doing too good. So it's hitting me in a personal way. And I think there should be some aid sent over there for the people in need, honestly.
So you're not talking about military aid, but more aid for, like, the refugees, for example?
Yes, refugees and those that have been harmed in, you know, the war, you know. Need to get back on their feet.
Good, okay. This district includes Camp Pendleton, and of course there's a lot of veterans and their families living in this district. Is there anything specific about what veteran families need that you feel needs to be addressed more?
I think a lot of the veteran families, from what I've seen, need to have more access to better health care, just like we need. They have the same health care, you know, they don't have anything special or different. You know, the Camp Pendleton doctors are the same doctors that are at Scripps, so they have the same health care. So they need some uplifting there, and
they have their own health insurance plan, in fact, I think, yeah.
But it's the same doctors. There's no, I mean, their hospital is different on base, but health care, from what I understand, off base, it's just the same. It's the same doctors.
Okay, let's talk about inflation, because that is something that I think everybody is really worried about right now. If you were in Congress, do you think Congress can do anything about inflation, and if so, what?
Our gas prices can definitely go down. To me, we have so many resources here. It's, you know, why are we entertaining foreign? You know, I believe that.
You mean resources in terms of money, or resources in terms of oil, for example?
Oil,
okay,
gas, even some of our commodities, you know, and clothing, you know, and if we're going to, if we buy American and put back into American, I think that a lot of that would also help our economy.
Okay, yeah, well, speaking of oil, let's just turn a little bit to to energy then, I mean, do you have a position on how we should be generating enough energy to meet our needs in the future, bearing in mind that climate change requires us to pull away from oil?
Well, we got a lot of resources to dam up, you know. They're saying that we have a lot of droughts here in California. And my solution for that is to conduit from the ocean, cleanse, reservoir. We have one in Hemet. And with the reservoirs, they conduce enough energy. You can dam up.
Oh, you mean hydroelectric power?
Yes.
So you'd like to see more hydroelectric?
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other thoughts about nuclear power, for example? We've got San Onofre sitting just
yeah. Well, that
up the
I
coast.
understand is up for sale. So,
Well,
yeah, it's just sitting there.
it's closed, yeah.
Right. It's sitting there and it's being cooled every day, and we're trying to figure out how we're going to dispose of it.
Correct, yes.
So my thing again is find a buyer and make sure that this buyer is going to remove it in a proper manner so that it doesn't harm us all, and find out what they're going to do with it so they don't, you know, blow us all up. But joking.
I don't think anybody else is going to buy it because there's nothing left but the nuclear waste. So.
Right, but there are some people that are interested in that nuclear waste. There has been, to my understanding, and some talk on it being purchased.
Okay, well, that's an interesting perspective. So how do you feel about nuclear power in general? The governor of California, Governor Newsom, just recently said perhaps we shouldn't close Diablo Canyon, which is the other nuclear power plant up in Northern California.
Well, I got to kind of decline to comment on that because I'm not too sure where he would be going with that, you know.
Okay, that's fine. So if we're looking at climate change, is that something which is of interest to you? Well,
yeah, I like climate change. I'm thinking that, you know, we could grow more vegetables instead of, you know, they have a saying about, you know, the meat that we eat, you know, going farming it, getting it, and, you know, producing it and driving it, whatnot. It costs a lot to do all that. Vegetables don't really cost anything. So eat a little more vegetables in our lives.
You think we
plant
should all
some
have
trees.
Vegetable gardens in the backyard?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Plant some trees. Mm-hmm.
And if you were in Congress and there was talk of controlling carbon emissions, but that would cost us money, so there's the balancing the economy versus our environment. Do you think climate change is serious enough to risk costing the economy billions of dollars?
No, I do not.
Okay.
I don't think it's a risk at all.
So climate change is not definitely one of your top issues, right?
No, it's not. My top issues is, you know, I really want to eradicate homelessness, and
Okay.
I'd like to fight for our veterans' rights.
Good.
There's a lot of, you know, being a nurse, I see amputees and whatnot, and it's just a lot going on. Some veterans are actually homeless.
Right.
And
so let's talk more about homelessness. What do you think Congress should be doing specifically to help with the homeless situation?
There needs
at the
to
national
be,
level?
you know, actually funds cut for that. And they're, like I was saying just a couple of weeks ago, they put a few residents into, it's like scattered sites. They don't just put them in a situation where they're, you know, back in, you know, an unfavorable neighborhood. But they put them in a place where they can, you know, mainstream and get themselves together, and no one's knowing that they're homeless. And I like that approach. And I think that there should be more programs like that set in place. And people are saying, well, make our taxes go up. Our taxes are already up. You know, they're not going to, you know, we need to make sure that we utilize the taxes that are up or are high, put them where we would like to as a community. You know,
Yes, so federal policy on homeless has followed the Housing First principle for the
Yes.
last 10 years. Where do you stand on Housing First? That's where you can access services even if you're not taking treatment for mental health or
That's
drug
right.
addiction.
That's
Yeah.
right, and I think people should be able to utilize that. And I think there should be more funding. Again, some of those programs can only take in so many, you know, residents or so many occupants or so many participants. So it leaves 35% people still out, you know, in the streets and not receiving any care. So we need more programs like that, and that's why I was speaking earlier about the vacant ships that are floating. I mean, they're very large. I mean, can fit a jet on one of them, you know, and it's just sitting there and they're vacant. So to me, these ships could be utilized and, you know, refurbished into floating hotels. Not something that's permanent, but something that is in a transient status that will, you know, transition these people and then from there place them in some sort of housing that would be permanent.
And do you think that the federal government has a responsibility or even the ability to do anything about high house prices? I mean, it is becoming almost prohibitive, the price of housing now for people.
For everyone, not
Correct.
just homeless,
Right,
you know?
exactly.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I think there should be some sort of glass ceiling to that. I honestly do.
What do you mean by glass ceiling?
Well, you know, you have, when you go to buy a home, some of these realtors and whatnot, they upstake the prices all over. And, you know, I feel that the government should step in with these Fannie Mae loans and whatnot. And basically, if you're a first-time homeowner or first-time buyer, you should get, your house should be paid for, you know.
Paid for?
Paid for by...
entirely?
I mean, yes.
Okay, so not just, you mean providing a loan that would cover the whole cost?
Yes.
Right, I see.
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right.
Absolutely.
Another issue that, of course, is one that is particularly the responsibility of Congress is immigration and the border. Would you support, for example, finishing the wall, or what do you think needs to be done to
I
to
feel
deal with
no
immigration?
children left behind. I went to Tijuana and I saw that wall. That was a disgrace. It was like razor blades, and it's actual steel wall. And you know, I was over there with my family, and they started speaking 5 minutes, blah 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 blah. But I'm looking around like, what's going on? You know, we get over there, and it was just horrible, just horrible. And so I feel, you know, immigration, there should be no children left behind or separated from their parents, coming through the border, around the border, or, you know, there's like a hill where a lot of them run up and come over. And I just feel that, you know, if they're intercepted or we get them on this side, that violence should not be the key, for one thing, and that no children should be separated from their parents.
So what about the people who are in this country? There's a lot of controversy over the Dreamers, the DREAM Act. If that were passed, there's about 2 million people who would be eligible for permanent or temporary residency. What would you say about the Dreamers? What should happen to them?
I think that they should get the permanent residency. That's my place on it. I mean, you know, this whole nation is built on Ellis Island. None of us would be here if it wasn't for that. So, you know, on with the mixing pot to me.
Okay. And then we talked a little bit about Ukraine, but foreign policy is also a responsibility of Congress people. What would you say the United States' role should be in the world? Do you see it as being very important that it remains the dominant power? How much should we fight to keep that role?
Well, I think that us being the dominant power right now, we should very well remain at a neutral, nurturing stance, because these nations, they're not going anywhere, and we will have to all get along for the time to be. So it makes no sense to me, this war and all the lives that have been lost is just ridiculous and sad to me.
So in terms of what's happening in Ukraine, would you pursue a different policy toward Russia?
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that.
I think that we need to take this stance as to offer aid to those in need, and that's the best I can sum up.
Okay.
I think that we should just stay neutral. I think if they needed funding for those that in between the Ukraine and Russia that needed some sort of medical need or medical help, that we should very well give that. But as far as the money that was sent over there, I just personally feel that we as a nation should remain neutral because there's a lot at stake for us all with them dealing with the type of nuclear
threat.
Yeah, that
Yes.
they have. So
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
where I believe we should be as neutral.
So in the couple of minutes we have left, we're asking everybody on a scale of 1 to 10, as a Democrat, where do you say you fall between, say, Bernie Sanders and Senator Joe Manchin?
More leaning towards Bernie Sanders. Yeah. I'm been told that I'm a liberal conservative.
So like a 2 or 3 sort of thing, or even a 1? I don't know. Where would you put yourself?
I would say, about a 2. Honestly, a 2.
Okay, good. And who is your role model among politicians, either alive or dead? Someone you admire?
Strom Thurmond.
Strom Thurmond. And why is that?
Because some of his policies were strong, strict, to the point, and easily supported by all, and able to, and he was fair. He was a very fair person.
Okay, this is just something to sort of get a glimpse into your non-political life. What is a book that you've really enjoyed reading recently?
Oh, Remar Nursing.
Read more nursing?
Remar Nursing.
Remar Nursing. Okay, because nursing is your passion.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Well, Nadia, thank you so much for spending time with us here on KOCT.
Well, thank you very much for having me. And I was a little nervous, but I hope that was okay.
That was great. So Nadia Smalley is a candidate for the 49th Congressional District. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, your ballots should have arrived in the mail, and you have till June 7th to either mail them back to the registrar, drop them off at a drop-off location, or go into a polling place on Election Day. I'm Alison St. John, and thanks again for watching KOCT, the voice of North County.
KOCT, the voice of North County.